Today from Pikes Peak International Raceway, it's the Speedvision Cup for stock sports cars. The 3-hour event is the 8th in a 9-race series. 51 cars are set to challenge this 1.3-mile road course. Today we come to you from Fountain, Colorado. That's about halfway between Colorado Springs and Pueblo. And in fact, this part of the country has been in the motorsport spotlight for some 75 years because that's how long they've been climbing to the top of Pikes Peak. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Lee alongside Jeremy Dale. And we come to you actually in the shadows of that famous mountain because they built this Pikes Peak International Raceway. It's a 1-mile banked oval with a nice road course in the infield. And Jeremy, as a driver, as a broadcaster, it's always fun to come to a new racing venue.
Yeah, it's a beautiful new venue. The 1.3-mile road course is very tight, very challenging, and they really run most of the oval here, and it's a new experience for a lot of these drivers to be on that oval flat out.
Well, of course, we have some great points battles, 4 divisions running in one race over the course of 3 hours. We have 2 pit reporters. The first is Greg Creamer.
Well, Gary, absolutely. The points in this series have always been close in all 4 divisions, and right now, tough to find a closer points battle than the one in Grand Sports. And John Heinrichsey leading that points battle, a scant 2 points clear of that Speed Source Mazda team of Nick Hem and Sylvain Tremblay. You're back here in the grid a little bit. What do you have to do today?
Well, we had a little bit of a problem with qualifying yesterday. I had one of my rear brakes that was dragging a bit, so I think that held us back. But there's 2 things I really have a lot of confidence in. One of them is Stu Hayner's a co-driver, and the other is my Pontiac Formula V8 here. And I know that Stu knows how to get to the front. He's done it a number of times, and he'll be doing that during the first hour and a half. And he always turns over a great car to me, so I have a lot of confidence in what we're going to do by the end of the race.
Again, that points battle remains close. Keep in mind, sports very close as well. 128 to 126 for Jeff McMillan in the BMW over Taz Harvey in a Honda. And touring is very close as well. 3 drivers involved, and my compatriot in the pits has that story.
Well, that's right, Greg. We've got 3 guys within 3 points, and the guy currently on top of the heap is Craig Stanton. It's been a great season so far for you.
It's been a great season. You know, this competition is so tough. We have Audi, a Honda, and Mazda, and then Nissan. Nissan Motorsports is back in its 100%. Everybody is very, very serious in this program here.
Well, Craig and John Norris won at Vegas, and to celebrate, Craig actually married his longtime girlfriend, Joy, at 4:30 in the morning, Vegas time.
Well, we will have perhaps one champion crown yet this afternoon when this event is over.
Yeah, that is in the compact class. That class is not very tight. Joe Nonemaker can clinch that today with a second-place finish, and he only needs to average 9th place in the final 2 races to lock that up. So that's our only class of the 4 that's not very, very tight.
This is a 3-hour event, a late afternoon start, which means they will end under what little lighting they have out there.
Yeah, I mean, it will be dark at the end. There are some temporary lights, and of course all of these cars have headlights, but none of these cars have run in the dark here yet. No one has practiced in the dark. Normally when you race in the dark, you get to practice in the dark, and these guys haven't been allowed to do that.
Well, once again, a 10-degree bank turn through turns 1 and 2. They will be using that portion of this 1-mile oval. That will represent some taxing on the neck muscles as well as the right front tire.
Absolutely, and of course, what we have to also talk about is the elevation here, which is really favoring the turbo cars. And this Audi that is on the pole in its class, of course, this is the first time we've seen that car. It's actually first ever pole position for Audi. That is a 1.8-liter turbocharged car, and the turbo cars definitely at an advantage here.
Yeah, some thin air as there's your elevation. The cars roll away. A 3-hour event, some 51 cars prepared to take the green flag here at Pikes Peak International Raceway. Coverage of the Speedvision Cup is brought to you by Toyota Motorsports. Our minds are always racing. And by Toyo Tires, proud to be the official tire of the Speedvision Cup. Well, we should go green the next time by. You can see some cones there marking the entrance to the infield section. Once again, a 1.3-mile road course.
And yes, and those cones define the point on the racetrack where you dive into the infield. Of course, because this field is so big, what they've decided to do is just run around on the oval for the pace lap. You can see that area where the pace car is now. That's where the cars come out of the infield onto the front straightaway.
Chuck Goldsboro on the pole, Nick Ham outside, and there is the green flag. Once again, a 3-hour timed event with 4 different classes into the 10-degree banking. collision will prove to be traumatic on the neck muscles as well as that right front.
Yeah, and look at this group of cars coming over the start-finish line. We're going to see a tremendous amount of traffic here on this very short racetrack with over 50 cars. And those two cars on the front row were both turbo cars, so you can see that we've already talked about the advantage that the turbocharged cars have here at the elevation.
The engineers are saying that at this elevation, the naturally aspirated engine could lose about 17% of the horsepower.
Absolutely, and that is a very significant amount of power. Now, there is tire management here. There is fuel management. There are many factors, but you would rather have the power and be able to manage all the other aspects of the race without being in that deficit position.
Nick Ham runs in second position. He will turn that car over to the team owner, Sylvain Tremblay. Now, Sylvain told me yesterday that because that's a gas guzzler, that Mazda back there in second, and a yellow flag out already on the course. We'll go back to the fuel situation with the Mazda as we check out the reason for the full course yellow. Apparently inside turn 1 there is a problem. And we started to say about the fuel situation with the number 70 Mazda. Tremblay said yesterday if they can get about 15 to 17 laps of yellow, they can make this on one stop. Well, this is a yellow flag lap right here.
Yes, and these are very short laps, only 1.3 miles, so it doesn't take a whole lot of time to... There's our yellow flag. That is down on the oval on the inside of turn 1, between the warm-up lane and the apron there. And that car looks like it probably...
Bill Fenton is off course down there with some body damage. As we take a look, Jeremy, at that course description.
Yeah, and this is, you can see turns 1 and 2 very fast on the oval here, and those cars get a good run up into those corners. And tremendous speeds down in through the kink at 3 and very hard braking into 4 and very bumpy braking zone and narrow down there as well. Very slow on the infield through 5 through 10. Not a lot of passing in there, but we are going to see some aggressive moves in there with the quicker cars lapping the slower cars. They're going to have to force their way through, and I'm quite sure we're going to see a lot of action in there.
Look at that backdrop. Beautiful country out here. We've had gorgeous weather this weekend. A high yesterday around 80, upper 70s with abundant sunshine this afternoon. This is part of a weekend that is a combination weekend with the professional sports car and SCCA, so a lot of racing. And the fans, there really is no bad seat in the house. It's what we call a stadium road course.
Yeah, the drivers don't always like these racetracks as much as the fans because they're not always as challenging within the confines of a small 1-mile oval. But it's great for the fans because they can see, as you say, there's not a bad seat in the house. They can see every part of the racetrack, and because it's such a short track, the cars come around very frequently, so there's always a lot of action on the racetrack.
In action earlier today, the Trans Am race was won by, no, it wasn't Tommy Kendall. Mike Borkowski won that one in a slam-bam affair over the last couple of laps.
Yeah, and Mike really drove an awesome race. I mean, really brilliant drive for him. Tommy tried to get by him and actually forced him off on the last lap, and it was very exciting.
And the World Challenge event was won by Peter Cunningham. So we've seen a lot of action so far today, a lot more action coming up for the race fans tomorrow. So again, a full course yellow early in this 3-hour timed event from Pikes Peak.
And a surprise pole sitter in the touring class was the Audi A4 Turbo, superbly driven by Darren Rory, who normally runs in the Super Touring division. Tell us how you're here this weekend, Darren.
Well, actually, one of my sponsors for Super Touring this season was Scott Hartman. He owns In-Track Suspension. He's been driving this car all year and asked me, since our season ended in touring cars, asked me to come in and do a drive for him this weekend, help him sort it out, and hopefully put it up front.
Obviously, the high altitude helped the turbo cars here, and we're getting the green flag.
Officials as we go green. Once again, a timed event, 3 hours, starting in the late afternoon sunshine here in Fountain, Colorado, ending well after dark. In fact, of the 4 pole setters, 3 were first-timers. Bob Endicott in sport, we just heard from Darren Law in touring, and Paul Morcons in compact. Eric Van Cleef put his car on the pole, 9th time in his career, 13th consecutive front row start.
The 3-hour race, Joe. Have fun, develop a nice smoothness.
Picking up a little radio contact there. We're monitoring Jason Priestley's car, the 27 car.
Once again, your leader, is Chuck Goldborough, who will start. Van Cleef will end, drive the anchor leg. Now, most of these cars can make it on one pit stop. Now, before that break, we told you if that number 70 Mazda can get about 15 to 16 laps under yellow, that car as well can make it all the way on one stop.
Now, there's a couple of other factors, though, with these cars. The Toyota and the Mazda are not known for their strong brakes.
413, Jason.
Not known for their good braking, and this braking zone, as they come off turn 2, down through the kink here 3 and into 4, is a very hard braking zone. And I think as it gets darker, look at how wide of that apex he is. As it gets darker, we're probably going to see a lot of glowing from the brake rotors down there, because it's a very strong brake application down there. So it's interesting to see what these cars will do under braking.
There's a look at Jason Priestley, the white Mustang number 46. He's battling back there for 6th position, and we can hear the crew talking to Jason.
Yeah, he's certainly in the thick of it back there. This is the very tight infield section of this racetrack. These guys are very busy in here.
Tucked in behind Joe Kent in the number 61 car.
And this is that corner out onto the banking. You can see they hit the banking there and run right up to the wall and up through the gears. Probably exited about 50 miles an hour there. And they will be close to about 130 turning.
104.5.
There's his lap time, 104.5. Crew chief giving him his lap time.
Russ Thompson just went by, though, to drop Jason Priestley back to 8th position. They actually come off the backstretch onto what would be a slowdown lane entering the pits for the oval.
Yeah, that little kink down there. And it's actually not very smooth back there. It's actually very bumpy back there.
Well, also the pavement being new is very abrasive, which will chew up the tires. And once again, a look at Jason Priestley. Up to the front once again. Chuck Goldsboro in the Toyota Supra leads the way. He's led from the start. His car was qualified by Eric Van Cleef yesterday. And Tremblay will drive the anchor leg as Nick Ham in the number 70 car. Bernie Cochran out there in the number 0.
479.
Let's see if we can see some fluid coming out of the rear of the 46 car.
And here's a very tight shot here.
Right there. What is this? You see the fluid off the left front?
Yeah, and you can see the car slide a little bit there on that fluid. And that's a peculiar place to lose fluid from. It may be that before the race they've really just topped up the coolant in that car. I doubt that's fuel, but anything is possible.
Well, that's a bit disconcerting going through that corner, putting the weight on that left front and having it get real wet and slide out from under you.
Well, it's less disconcerting than doing it down in turn 1 on the right side of the car at 120, 130 miles an hour.
We may have some more fluid here out of the leader. Hey, look at there.
Saving the brakes, Dad.
You know what that is? That's probably...
10-4.
Well, no, you can see his fuel filler is on the right side of that car. I was going to say it's probably fuel. Early in the race, they've really topped up these cars because before the race starts, they can put every last little drop of fuel in, but that shouldn't be coming out of that side of the car.
Well, there's 4th place, Bernie Cochran. Drives back there in the 4th position, the number 0 car.
And these Firebirds definitely at a disadvantage here at this elevation. You mentioned earlier about 17% less power in these cars. Now, if only these guys could get 17% better fuel economy to go along with 17% less power, they'd be loving life. You can see that car has some auxiliary headlights up on the hood there.
Bernie Cochran, presently back there in 4th, is tied with a number of drivers for 4th position, including his own teammate Dave Murray, who is down in the pit lane.
Well, David, obviously this is turbo country at this altitude, and yet in qualifying you were able to put the Firebird right up there in 3rd place inside that 2nd row. How'd you do it?
Yeah, I was really happy with the qualifying. We had one lap that was really a good lap. Qualified 3rd, but now Bernie's back to 4th, and there's nothing but turbo cars in front of him, so he's doing a really good job. The crew did a great job prepping the car. We had a lot of problems. We had to run our backup car because our our primary car had a motor problem. Tried to fix it, had other problems, and you know, zero's just as good. Just leave that one alone. Don't fight the bad luck, and we'll run the zero car, which is running great, but you're right, it's just a little high altitude. It's hard for it to breathe.
Now, does that help you in terms of fuel economy? They're wondering about that in the booth.
I don't think so. I mean, you know, the turbos are still going to run the same boost, same fuel mileage, same horsepower. Will be a little less. It may help us a little bit of fuel mileage, but I don't think it's going to be significant enough with that much power loss.
Well, they were expecting a one-stop race anyway, gentlemen.
You can see Stu Hayner right behind him challenging for that fourth spot. Hayner in the yellow and black car took a look to the inside but could not make the pass as they worked back up on the banking.
Yeah, you really have to free that car up there coming up onto the banking. Here's the 37 car.
1042.
McNeely is off course in number 37.
That is the infield portion there. Very, very tight in there, mostly second and third gear.
Jeff McNeely on the replay. He's teamed with the Scott Harrington this afternoon.
Well, he didn't do that by himself.
He got some help there, right there.
Yeah, those boys are playing hardball here in the first early part of this race.
Some high sticking in hockey there.
All for what is what I want to know. All for what? Those guys are down in about 25th position, so.
And I tell you what, when you're talking about 50 cars in the starting lineup, a little miscue like that will put you right at the back of the pack in a hurry as you take a look at the time remaining in this 3-hour timed event. Lee alongside Jeremy Dale with Calvin Fish and Greg Creamer patrolling the pit lane as we come back to you to the Festival of Road Racing here at Fountain, Colorado's Pikes Peak International Raceway. Not too many miles from the famous mountain where every year they climbed the race to the clouds.
And this is kind of the first taste of road racing for the race fans in this area.
No, call me, please.
That's Jason Priestley's crew chief asking him to just call and let him know he's okay. But of course, Jason is in the thick of a battle there. He's got cars behind him, cars in front of him, and he's really not in the mood to talk too much.
Well, he has Joe Kent out in front, and what he's telling his crew is that the car in front of him is spraying some liquid.
The 106 flat.
Yeah, he's been complaining that the car in front of him has been losing fluid and that his windshield now is very dirty, and that will become a big issue. That'll become a big issue as the sun goes down and the light gets low. Great race here into the braking zone at turn 4.
Joe Kent had a thought on the outside, elected not to. Now he looks to the inside. And it may be the Kent car that has been spewing that liquid over the windshield of Priestley's 46.
Well, there it is. That's a great replay there. And that's coming up onto the banking. And we've seen a lot of cars losing fluid here. Very unusual. Now, we do know that also one of the problems with the altitude is that a lot of these cars have been running hotter. So maybe what these teams have done is they've overfilled some of the cooling systems. They may have overfilled the overflow bottles in the cooling systems, and that might be why a lot of these cars are losing fluid.
Greg Creamer is standing by with Andy Pilgrim down in the pit lane. There's Andy.
Andy, we understand Jason's been complaining that one of the cars out front has been leaking a little bit. You just talked to the crew chief. What's up?
Yeah, the problem is something's leaking out of the car, and it makes it very difficult for a driver to know exactly how much is leaking. If there's like a mist of fuel, it could be on the track, and it makes you a little nervous, plus it gets on your windshield, along with all the dust that's around. It just creates a problem.
Well, we are seeing the sun starting to get a little low in the sky, and I would suspect on the windshield could become a major issue.
Yeah, if you've got fuel on the windshield or oil on the windshield, that's definitely a problem with this low sun. Absolutely.
Now, we understand that your car had been reported for a slight leak, which apparently has cleared up. Any information on that?
Sometimes these cars are very full of fuel at the very beginning of the race, and some of it will breathe out because they've been sitting in the hot sun before the race starts. But after a few laps, you lose a couple of gallons, and then it sorts itself out. So that's why they're not just going to bring someone in immediately, but it's tough when you're following someone that's breathing some fuel.
We just got a report from the booth, Andy, that the leak they have spotted on the 46 car is coming from the left front wheel. Any idea what that might be? In that area.
I don't know. You actually know something I don't, so I'm not sure. I haven't heard that one.
Okay, well, apparently Jason is being reported as a little squirrely. I know you're kind of curious. We'll let you find out what's going on. We'll get back to you.
I'll find out. Thanks.
Thanks, Andy.
Pilgrim presently is 9th in the point standings. Now let's look again, Jeremy.
Yeah, now this
to the left front.
This is turn 5 in the infield, and this is the area on the racetrack where he's been having problems. None of the other right-hand corners, but this particular corner, very long corner, long loading type of corner. And then we saw later in that lap, he got very sideways out in turn 1 and 2 on the banking.
You know, Andy Pilgrim is also working on quite a string of his own. This would be his 103rd consecutive finish if he can bring that car home in all kinds of racing with all kinds of teammates. That's darn impressive.
Yeah, it's just a very, very impressive record. He's just such a solid driver.
Cooling temperatures and everything, Jason?
Well, once again, you watch the 88 car. Chuck Goldsboro continues to lead. His lead now is over 8 seconds. Calvin, you have some comments on that number 88. Yeah, we thought we had Calvin down there. Apparently have a technical problem with the microphone. Oh, look out over the
well, this is our this is our leader trying to get through that slower traffic in an area that's really not designed for passing, and he's having to force his way through there to try and maintain his lead and not lose too much time. You don't want to lose 3 or 4 seconds on a lap. He's got his headlights on. He's trying to let people know, but these other cars are also racing. They're racing from positions. They can't just move over and let him by.
And look at the shadows there now beginning to fall across the front straightaway. I think we have the technical glitch covered. And let's try to pick up Calvin again from the pit lane.
Okay, well, the co-driver with the lead car right now will be Eric Van Cleef. He started from the pole, his 13th consecutive front row start. And you mentioned to me before the race started, Eric, that you really need to pull out a lead because you guys look like you're going to have to do 2 starts with Phil.
Yes, we do. The game plan was to go out hard, settle down into a real decent pace, and try to pull a bit of a lead, put some laps on the field. The Fords can go a lot longer on fuel than we can. So we're looking to put some laps on them, and so we'll have it on position to win the race at the end.
The nature of this circuit really means that traffic is a problem, particularly when you get in the infield part of this racetrack.
Yes, actually some of the slower class cars can run through the infield as quick as we can. So we have to be real patient. Some of the short chutes there, we have to be patient and just stay behind them and wait to do the passing in a smart area like on the straightaways or down the back under braking.
Well, they were looking for a big lead, and it looks like Chuck is certainly pulling it out at the moment.
Well, his lead right now in traffic is about 7 seconds.
Well, and I guess Eric Van Cleef is not watching a television feed here because he's talking about being patient, and if that is being patient...
That's abusing a race car.
I want to see what impatience is like, if that's being patient. So,
you know, he's getting by with that right now, but that does abuse the race car, the suspension, and that could prove to be a problem later in this competition.
105.44.
So once again, it looks like an LA freeway at rush hour with some 50 cars on this 1.3-mile road circuit here at Pikes Peak International Raceway. Well, a problem for the Bernie Cochran number 0 car. They had to change a tire on the left front.
Yeah, we were just following this car, and they must have just ducked in, and you can see a little bit of damage there. Maybe as this car makes its way around, we'll be able to look at that.
106.21.
We'll be able to look at that left front corner and see he may have made contact with another car and cut that tire down. And he's probably lost. We're going to have to wait for him to cross the scoring line to see how many laps he's lost now, but he's probably lost at least a lap or 2. Now, they will have topped that car up, but they will not be able to get to the end on this tank of fuel, so they will have to stop again.
Well, they're in a tight battle for the points championship right now. There are actually some 4 drivers tied for 4th, including Bernie and his teammate David Murray.
And you can see the damage on the front of Cochran's car. Here's the infield. That car is well offline.
John Kohler, Gary Smith.
And he really had to open his hands up there, and that curve kind of caught him. He kind of lucked out there.
That's John Kohler starting the car, number 47. So he had a chance to open the eyes up. Bernie Cochran is standing by with Greg Creamer.
Well, gentlemen, take a look. This is the problem with the tire. A big gash in the sidewall. I'm with Bernie Cochran, father of the driver and also the team manager. Bernie, what happened? We're not sure. It looks like a cut in the inside, probably from debris. We're just calming the driver down and telling him we're going to get this back somehow. So what's the strategy now? You just have to sort of drop the hammer and try and make up time? Got to go for it. Well, of course, they got David Murray to get behind the wheel. That's got to be a little reassuring.
Is there any luck out there? I guess that's what we need, huh? David will be fine.
All right, obviously a little bit disappointed. Well, a lot disappointed down here, but they'll fight back.
Well, I could see some tire problems later in this race off the right front. Not so much with the left front, but...
No, that car made contact with something. Now, if we had been another 10 or 15 minutes into this race, they could have made a driver change. And Bernie Cochran would have scored points, but he must drive 45 minutes to score points. So to keep himself in the points, he really needs to stay in that car, and that would have been the ideal time to put David Murray in, but they just couldn't do it.
Now you can see some of the drivers using their headlights right now. Other cars have additional headlights added. So once it gets dark here, we only have a few portable lights out there in the infield. And they'll have to rely on the lights on the race car.
Pick your time.
The leader right now in the sports class, Bob Endicott, was a fast qualifier in the sports class. Started back in 24th position. Right now, Endicott is leading his class.
Which is the car behind you in class.
He's running 16th overall, but leading in class. It's the number 7 car in the sports division, Bob Endicott. Mike Galati will take over on the pit stop and drive the anchor leg. Well, apparently my old buddy Steve Nowicki had a harrowing experience in the infield in the 94 Honda.
You can see a lot of hands.
Tail slapper.
Yeah, you can see a lot of hands in the car there.
What was that, blurb?
It is very busy in there.
Dip is just approaching 300 watts at 240. 220 or 240? 220. 10-4.
You can hear Jason telling his team manager water temperature 240 degrees.
What was that about the pits?
Well, I can't imagine that they'd be wanting to come in yet. This is not their fuel window.
There's the 9 BMW. McMillan now second in the sports class.
And this is the 328 IS. Now, these cars had sat on the pole in sports for 7 consecutive races. And that string was broken here. And this car has really come on this year. They changed after Las Vegas, they changed the inlet restrictor size. That means that the car can't take in as much air into the motor, so it obviously can't make as much power, and that has certainly been effective in terms of slowing them down a little bit. And they were not able to put a
5.2 to 70 cars in the pit.
Not able to put a BMW on the pole in the sports class for this race.
Well, 16th overall, as we indicated earlier, is Bob Endicott. And his team driver is Michael Galati, who is standing by with Greg Kramer.
Well, you have to wonder if they brought in a ringer to this team. Michael Galati comes into this weekend. Also, he was the points leader in the T1 division or the T2 division of World Challenge, doing a little Speedvision Cup racing. Michael, first of all, obviously got to be happy out in front.
Yeah, we're really happy. Bob is doing a great job. Right now, we're leading. Unfortunately, on the race before, I got taken out the first lap, and that was not, didn't go too good. But I drove it with him at this point. We finished second, so we hopefully can take this one home in first.
Now, obviously, you put the Honda on the pole, so you started up front. That broke a string of poles from BMW for a long time. Obviously, some changes making things a little more pleasant for the Honda team.
That's pretty good. We're having a good car over here. I think we should be able to do good. We had a problem up at Las Vegas. We were leading over there. The same thing. A ship cable broke. So I think we can bring it in one piece, and we should be able to do good.
And of course, his World Challenge teammate and team owner Peter Cunningham always has to come in and mess with you during an interview. Petey, thanks so much, gentlemen.
Well, you saw Dick Rule sideways on the racetrack in car number 25, but he continues on. We can tell you that the car running back there in the second position. Nick Ham made an unscheduled pit stop, and we're not sure what the problem is in the number 70 Mazda, but we'll find out what the problem is when we come back to Pikes Peak. Once again, Goldsboro continues to lead. Festival of Road Racing from Pikes Peak International Raceway here in Fountain, Colorado. Mike Hillstad had a problem in the number 34 car. He got help there a little bit. A little off-track excursion, but no damage, and he will continue on.
I don't think that's the first time we're going to see that this afternoon.
Well, here's a pit stop for number 32. A little early for routine pit stop.
Yeah, and that is our points leader. And that is very early, especially for a Firebird that should be doing much better on fuel mileage. So I wonder if they had some type of tire problem with that car.
So Stu Hainer is back out, but after that stop, drops back into back. But Calvin Fish, I have to ask, was there a problem with car number 70? The Mazda had been up to second with Nick Ham and made what I would consider an unscheduled pit stop.
Yes, Lou, it certainly was an unscheduled pit stop, and I'm here with the co-driver Nick Ham, Sylvain Tremblay. And Sylvain, you're in the points battle in the Grand Sports Division, and that early pit stop really cost you dearly. What was the problem with the vehicle?
Well, apparently a fuel line burst inside the engine compartment, and Nick has been driving with fuel spraying on his feet. So hopefully this isn't the story of a 10-cent part costing us the championship, but he's back out there, and I still have another car to get into, so we'll see. We'll try to do the best we can what we got now.
Okay, and Greg Kramer has an update on the 32 machine.
Well, Jeremy, you were absolutely right. Too early for a fuel window. Here's the problem. That is some serious blistering that happened pretty early. And, of course, that could affect things regarding the Grand Sports Points Championship. And John Heinrichs, who we talked to earlier, is with me. John, obviously, you're just seeing, what, tremendous heat in the tires?
Yeah, we saw a lot of heat during practice all through the week, and we knew we were going to have a problem, so we're trying to take it a little bit easy. I think the same thing hit the Zero car, Bernie's car, because he had a split on the inner front tire. So I think, I don't know if we've got more problems than anybody else, but it's running awfully hot out there. This banking is awfully hard on DOT tires.
Now, the obvious question we heard just a minute ago, Sylvain said he's entered in another car, he's got options. Have you been thinking that way too here?
Well, obviously Joe's got 4 cars running, so I've got options there.
They got to plan ahead for a championship, no question. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
He refers to Joe Aquilani, and of course Joe himself on occasion will climb aboard and drive a stint.
But that's the advantage of running 4 cars. They keep John Heinrichs out, and they decide, with an hour to go, with an hour and a half to go, which car is in the best position to put him in to score points. That is a distinct advantage of having a 4-car team.
Let's go back and take a look at an earlier lap. Your leader, Chuck Goldsboro, having some trouble getting by. Is that Nowicki? And let's see what happens as he goes off. And a little wave there, a little wave. You have never seen that gesture, have you?
No, I've never seen that gesture. Well, I just saw it.
Well,
as a matter of fact,
no, I mean when you're on the racetrack.
No, never.
This is going to be a problem. We've documented we had 51 cars start, a 1.3-mile road course, a very tight road course in the middle. Anytime you put a road course in the middle of a 1-mile oval, it's tight.
It's going to be tight. The difference with this racetrack is that these guys get such a good run at that turn 1 and 2 combination on the oval where they're pretty much at top speed, and that is just very, very difficult on tires, as we saw. And that was the right rear that came off Stu Hayner's car. But it's quite possible to blister a front tire as well. It just depends on how the car is set up.
David Shard back there in the second position, 19 seconds behind Goldsboro. Ross Thompson is in third. And then John Kohler is in fourth. Then Jeff Turner is in the 5th position. And there you can see the gap back to second, back to third. 92 car, and there you are. Car comes out of Ohio. That car has been in competition in both the World Challenge as well as the Speedvision Cup. And of course, being a combined weekend, we're seeing lots of cars that we don't normally see in this division, but they're here for the World Challenge. So hey, let's run both.
Yeah, well, there's a lot, a lot of decals to swap over from race to race. But aside from that, some of these cars can make the move pretty easily from sports car division type racing to SCCA racing.
Now this is where it's tough on the braking right here. Off the fast oval through this braking zone into a tight left-hander.
Yeah, these Grand Sports cars in that area, probably 135 miles an hour, down to probably 35 miles an hour. So tremendous amount of decel in there, very tough on the brakes. And it's a warm day today, so it's very tough on these cars.
There's a look at Ross Thompson. He's back there in third position. And although this is one of the smaller tracks they can test, it's one of the more taxing on both equipment and drivers.
Well, these tight racetracks are always hard on tires and brakes. But I think the big difference here is the oval. These guys are running at top speed on the oval, and they're just not used to doing that. And these cars aren't designed to do that. You heard John Heinrichs say, you know, these DOT-approved tires are just not designed for that. It's very hard on them, and for the most part, they stand up to it. But in the odd situation, they just won't put up with it.
And when you think about Daytona, they run the high banks there, but for the most part, this is very uncharacteristic for this type of series to be running on a bank track. So once again, the race continues. The abuse on the tires, particularly that right front, continues. And Chuck Goldsboro continues to lead. There's the time remaining of a 3-hour event. A lot of bumping and banging through this infield section, kind of like the Dodgems, Jeremy, at the amusement park. There's Stu Hainer in the number 32 car. Now watch this.
Yeah, a little love tap there.
A little kiss.
A little love tap. 99 did an excellent job there of not collecting that 51 car. Well, Stu Hayner's obviously driving very hard to try and make up some of that time he lost because of that tire change. So he'll be driving the wheels off that car, which may mean more blistered tires. You know, if you could set a pace for yourself, your chances of blistering a tire like that are not as great. Now, if he has to push that much harder, it's even tougher on the car and the tires.
Well, you heard earlier Eric Van Cleef say we want to start out as quickly as we can, get a big lead before the pit stop, and they're doing that right now. In fact, his team driver, Chuck Goldsboro, has a 25-second margin. So when you start out in front, you have that advantage. You just have to work through traffic as gingerly as possible.
Absolutely.
Is that the 40 car? Yeah, there's the 40 car of Joe Danaher. Now, Joe had a problem earlier, made an early pit stop. As we indicated off the top of the show, he can really clinch. He could clinch with a second-place finish this afternoon, the title in that compact class.
And they apparently, the car, the oil filler cap came off, and they lost a great deal of oil. And that's why they had to stop, because the oil level was down. It looks like he's coming back to the pit lane. So he's not happy with that car. You can see it smoking there on the overrun there as he decelerates. That car is smoking.
Well, he's headed for you, Calvin.
Yes, and he brings in the number 40 machine, Joe Danaher, behind the wheel right now. And the key is, if Joe finishes second or better today, he could clinch the championship. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. But they want to score some points, and to do that, he needs to make 25% of the race distance. They believe they're just over 45 minutes in this 3-hour event right now, so he should be good for some points. That was why he was just nursing the car very slowly, and the sports car officials asked him to bring in. It's obviously some kind of oiling problem on the engine system here. They're checking the oil level right now. Peter Schwartz, who is the car owner here, is actually talking to his co-driver right now, and they're going to try and make a decision here, see if they can make any more laps and score some valuable points here today.
Well, Joe has a 30-point margin over John Barraza. Now, Barraza won the last outing a week ago at Las Vegas, so he closed in a bit. And this could certainly give him an opportunity to close it even more this afternoon and win the title when they wrap up the season at Sebring in about a month. Back up in front, the 88 car of Goldsboro continues to set the pace. And I think that was a friendly wave. Thanks for letting me by.
Yeah, well, when he kind of, you know, waves his hand like that, that's kind of friendly. Boy, he's used a lot of curb in the infield there. That car must like that.
Well, we'll find out late in the going how much that car likes that.
Yeah, we will.
I like it right now, but maybe not later.
Now, let's not forget, these cars are very hard on fuel mileage. The turbocharged cars, they might have the power, but they certainly use a lot of fuel, and that is a distinct disadvantage here.
So we're getting an indication now that the temperature along pit road's 104 and 115 on the racetrack.
Well, I did say it was warm.
And that car's warm right there.
And look, they're trying to put some water in that car, and it doesn't want it. So what they may have done is by losing oil, they may have elevated the temperature to the point where they blew a head gasket or something like that. And I would say
that's an expensive-looking symptom.
That car is done. That car is done.
Well, Peter Schwartzoff, the college professor, will not have a chance to go out and play in his own car this afternoon.
They need a little whistle on that. They could make a nice little whistle.
And now we'd all break and go to dinner.
I hope he doesn't try and put that cap back on there. Just
there's the 9 car that was second in the sports class. McMillan is on board. Derek Hill is his co-driver. And there is the 70 car. And there's a good look at Derek Hill, the son of the 1961 World Driving Champion. Let's go to the pit lane. Greg?
Derek, obviously, you guys qualified 4th, and Jeff is right in the middle of a major points battle. It seems like he didn't waste much time moving up and challenging.
No, Jeff's doing a great job keeping it right behind the leader of our class, and he's just doing what he has to do. We're looking forward to the pit stop. The crew always does a great job. We're going to throw on a couple tires on the right side of the car, and with any luck, we'll be right out there in the front of the pack and hopefully bring home another win.
Doesn't look like he's really challenged to go to the front. Is he content to sit and conserve a little bit?
Yeah, he really is. The number 7 Honda isn't part of the points championship right now, so we want to keep it where we are and just run a consistent race, not make any mistakes, and that's what Jeff does best.
Well, I'll tell you, Derek Hill drives cars awfully well, too. He's, second in the points in the Barber Dodge Pro Series. He's got wins in the GT3 division. He's been a busy lad this year, guys.
Yeah, we have some damage to the number 31 car.
And there's the front bumper and assorted parts out on the banking there. And you can see, I believe that was the pace car that went through the frame there. And we are now in full course yellow mode. They're going to want to clean that up. That car is solidly damaged.
That is the Terry Earwood Arnold entry. Let's see if we can check out what happened. Well, he's by himself right now.
He pretty much, but I don't think he's by himself for long. There you go.
There's how he got the front end chopped off. Was that the 92 car? Was that Shard that took the front end of the 31 car away?
I'll tell you, that whole thing could have been a lot worse than it was. That could have been a big, big incident.
Well, it was big for Dave Shard because look at all the smoke. He's cut down a right rear, so he'll head back to the pit lane. And Greg is down there.
Well, obviously, they're going to take care of the damage, but they're also going to affect the driver's change and get the fuel in. They're going to have to do this stop, probably one more. And I had talked a little while ago to Kelly Collins, who's now getting in the car, and I said, when are you coming in? And he said it's going to be, well, 20 minutes or the first yellow. But now we're getting a signal from one of the crew chiefs to the old slice across the throat. So apparently this may be a far more serious problem than we think. You can see that Dave Shard has gone around to that right rear corner and is taking a good close look at it. Kelly Collins is still buckling up just in case, but it does not look good at all at this stage. Apparently some severe damage to that right rear corner.
Yeah, it looks like the suspension is broken. It didn't take much to figure that out. That thing took a very solid shot. Here's the 46 car, Jason Priestley. Calvin is in the pit lane. Calvin.
Yeah, Jason is jumping out right now, and Andy Pilgrim is going to be jumping in. Really took these guys by surprise. They suddenly saw the yellow, and you should have seen the frantic activity here in this number 46 pit, sponsored by MCI. The crew are looking down in this left front corner. They believe they've got some problems with the brakes now. Looks like they're going to try and change the calipers. They actually have some quick release clips on this Aero-Quip fitting here, and they obviously have the calipers full of fluid. They connect them back up. Pretty amazing how these teams are geared up for this type of competition. Obviously, time in the pits is valuable, and this time it's under yellow, so they're going to try and correct the braking problem that they had with Jason running the car early in the race so that Andy can really stand on it and try and gain some positions back up.
We were talking to Derek Hill earlier in the pit lane. Wanted to mention that his car and team driver are back in 17th position, and they're right now second in their sports class, but about 4.5 seconds behind the Bob IndyCar car, which leads in sports. So Bob is 15th overall, and the Derek Hill McMillan car is 17th overall. And we can see some more debris out there in the racetrack. It looks like part of the tire.
And basically, these cars were able to get in, but you can't leave that debris out there. So
well, there's some more debris on the racetrack. There's all kinds of debris out there.
Yeah, so they need to get in and, you know, get out there and grab that stuff. And so the easiest way is just to go full course yellow.
But as you indicated, that could have been a very serious situation. He just did clip the front of that car, but a couple of feet back.
Yeah, a foot or two, you know, here or there, and that could have been very, very serious. So everyone did a very good job.
Well, we enjoyed eavesdropping on the conversation between the crew and Jason Priestley. Now we'll talk to Jason, and Calvin is with him.
Okay, Jason, we looked at the team and they changed the calibers here, but you said you didn't feel too many braking problems out there on the racetrack.
No, I didn't have any braking problems at all. I mean, it was, you know, it's hot out there. It's really hot in the infield. I think that coming up here on the banking in the shade really helps them out. I was trying to get the nose of the car in some clean air whenever I could to cool them off. They were fine.
Well, you know that on the radio you complained about some of the cars in front of you dropping fluid. How much of a concern for you is when that happens out there, particularly on this oval with a fast turn down there?
Well, it's a big concern. You know, oil and gasoline and the antifreeze are all very slippery, and it's slippery enough in the infield there. And the car in front of me was every time he turned left, he'd dump a ton of stuff all over the track. So, you know, I was just concerned, and, you know, that's not safe for anybody.
Okay, well, tough conditions out there, and Greg Kramer has a further story.
Well, the leader in the sports division is in. The number 7 Lightspeed Honda is in, and surprisingly, Bob Endicott staying on board. We're going to try and clarify that one. He'd suspect this car might be able to make it rather easily on one stop. They only changed one tire, and one would imagine it would be the right front, the drive tire on that car, and it is away. I'm going to try and find, see if I can grab Mike Galati real quick. Mike, how come you didn't get in?
I don't know. We were kind of surprised he come in. We don't have no idea why he come in. I don't know yet.
All right, a bit of confusion down here. We're going to try and sort it out, but that really could affect that battle in the sports class.
Well, I like the honesty of the answer. I don't know. We don't know. I don't know.
What happened to the radio? He could have said we lost radio contact and we're not aware he was coming in.
To quote Mike, I don't know.
Well, you can see the crew out there sweeping the debris up the banking. I think they should be sweeping it down the banking. But anyway, we remain under a full course yellow. Once again, just over 2 hours remaining in this 3-hour timed event. So now Ross Thompson has the lead under the yellow as we'll come back to Pikes Peak. Coverage of the Speedvision Cup is brought to you by Porsche, who wish to remind you there is no substitute. Under a full course yellow here at Pikes Peak, and we have a lead change because the lead car is now in the pit lane, the 88 car of Chuck Goldsboro, and you can see the work continuing now on the 29 car.
And I guess
Ross Thompson.
I guess they've decided that they can maybe fix that.
Let's go down and check with Greg Kramer.
Well, the leader at the time of the stop was the number 29 Passon Motorsports Toyota Supra Turbo. This one looks relatively routine. Apparently, they're actually got both of the right side tires changed. They're keeping the car jacked up in the air as long as possible. That is the side the fuel goes in. They get a lot more fuel into the tank. Perhaps stretch this one out to the end. If not that, at least. Oh, they are very concerned. The crew is screaming here as the pace car goes by. They should have dropped it down and let it go. They are very concerned. The driver's change is done. They just waited a little too long.
So under yellow, they make the stop, but could not get the car back out of the pit lane before the pace car came by.
And that is really, you know,
bad pit strategy.
It's bad pit strategy. I was going to say it's unforgivable because, you know, you can always come back in and get more fuel, but you can't get that lap back very easily. So you've got to get that car out of the pit lane. And you can see, now there's the official who closes the pit lane until the whole field goes by. So he will be at the back of the field, literally.
Well, he'll be actually a lap and at the back.
Yeah, it's a real disadvantage. I mean, you've got to get that car out before the field comes around under full course yellow.
So that means going all the way through the field, not once, but twice to get that lap back. And you can see, once again, coming off the backstretch, this is the hard braking area into that tight left-hand turn into what now is being described as a very slick, very hot infield. We have had really no cloud cover this afternoon. There had been a threat of some afternoon showers, but no clouds to even offer any rain. And the only the cloud cover or actually shadows that we have now would be along the front straightaway entering turn 1. So a costly mistake in pit strategy. Greg, let's go back to you in the pit lane.
Well, gentlemen, I'm standing by with Ross Thompson, who was behind the wheel of the number 29 Toyota. When you came in, you were in the lead. That pit stop took a lot longer than one might have expected. We could hear the crew getting very upset as the pace car went by. What happened?
Well, we're trying to get as much fuel as we possibly can in the car. The thing about the Toyota is we have to stop twice where everybody else stops once. So it's really vital that we get as much as we possibly can in before we go back out. And I'll tell you what, guys, we missed it just by a fraction. So
when you get that much fuel in, are you looking then to be able to come in and just do a quick splash and be able to maintain some track position?
Well, the way things are going right now, we're probably going to do one more splash and go before we finish the race. I think I was only out for about an hour, but I don't know. I think we got a pretty good strategy here. The Path to Motorsports Toyota's really good. I got to thank iDream Software for putting me in the car today, and it's just a great car. Thanks to these guys.
Well, and they came from a ways back on the grid to the lead before that stop. Amazing.
Well, it's going to take a long drive to get back to the lead now.
Yeah, I think in terms of winning this race, their day is probably done.
Yeah, that kind of goes along with the hot, muggy air we have out here. Get the fly sweater out.
Yeah, that's a good view up on the roof. That's quite nice.
Fortunately, we're inside the air condition. So once again, under a full course yellow, just into the second hour of this 3-hour timed event, and it will get fun at about the 2.5 hour mark when it's totally dark out here. Let's go back to the pit lane, Calvin.
Well, the early leader was Chuck Goldsborough in the '88 Toyota Supra, and it looked like you were having fun out there today. The car was really hooked up.
Calvin, it was wonderful. We did a lot of preparation between Vegas and here. We lost it on, a stupid move not changing tires. So over this week, we really planned on the infield strategy and our pit strategies. And we knew if we could hook up in the infield and come out of the infield onto the banking tight, that we could pass pretty much anybody. It wasn't straight line speed. It was how you got hooked up out of the last turn. And it made all the difference in the world. And we owe a lot to the team and the preparation.
Okay, well, it looked like fun out there, and I'm sure Eric will put on a strong performance, and Greg Creamer has another story.
Well, Calvin, the leader in the sports division, the number 9 BMW is in, and Derek Hill getting on board, the gentleman who currently leads in the points, Jeff McMillan, just getting out. And with the problems for the number 7 machine, this car is looking pretty well placed. That number 7 car, in order for anybody to get points, is going to have to stop again. I asked Derek Hill right before he got on, I said, is this it? Can you do it on one stop? He looked at his watch and said, I think we're right there. He was smiling again. Only concerned about right side tires. It's the tremendous loading on this track. They're taking care of those, topping it off, and Derek Hill will head back out. And again, I've got to think Jeff McMillan's pretty happy. We'll try and get a word with him in a little bit.
Well, you mentioned that McMillan is leading the points in the sports class, but actually by only 2 over Taz Harvey. And the Harvey car right now is in the 3rd position in the sports class. Now, he'll take over on the pit stop and run the anchor leg in the number 86.
So these guys have gotten a little bit lucky with that miscue by the 7 car, because of course the big advantage for the Honda is a fuel advantage, although the BMW is not bad on fuel, but that was a serious miscue by the 7 car.
So once again, your leader under this yellow is being shown as Eric Van Cleve. So the car that started from the pole position made the pit stop, made the driver change, and under this yellow regains the top spot. We'll take this break and come back with that much time remaining here at Pikes Peak. Up is brought to you by BMW, the ultimate driving machine, and by Toyo Tires, proud to be the official tire of the Speedvision Cup. We look there at your leader. Once again, it's Eric Van Cleve, who qualified this car for the pole yesterday, led early on as we take a look at the race reset brought to you by Toyo Tires. Once again, Van Cleve and his team driver Chuck Goldsborough leading overall, also leading in Grand Sports. Taz Harvey right now in the cockpit of the leader in sports. John Norris leading in touring. And the compact right now, Chris Wilson on board that car. As we take a look at great gas economy.
Yeah, this is a little replay from the infield earlier on. Now, that car probably stopped for fuel, and probably someone forgot to put the
filler cap on, and that's Will Nonamaker.
That might have had something to do with why that car was incredibly sideways coming into our shot, and why he never got to that apex. And this is another replay. This is down in the fastest part of the racetrack, turn 1 and 2 area. Look at that Mazda down on the inside there, and all 3 of these drivers doing a tremendous job to get through there cleanly without ever making any contact, much less spinning or getting up into the wall.
Bob Towery in that 71 Mazda.
It's been very uneventful in terms of the turn 1-2 oval area today. considering how many cars are on the racetrack.
Right now, your overall leader with a 19-second margin. And there is the look at Taz Harvey in the number 86 entry. He is leading in sports. He is 15th overall, but he is leading in class.
And he was involved in that. He was in the midst, I should say, of that whole incident that we just saw on tape, that replay down in turn 1.
Taz right now very much in the thick of the points battle with the last race of the season at Sebring on the weekend of October 18th and 19th. Harvey right now only 2 points behind Jeff McMillan, so a win here would launch him into the points lead.
And we don't think this car has stopped yet. So this car may yet need to make a pit stop. So this victory for them, this potential victory, certainly isn't a lock, even though they're leading right now and running very well. We believe they have to stop. So
the 03 leading in touring is John Norris. Now he is 16th overall and first in touring. Once again, 4 classes in one 3-hour event.
And they've been doing a very solid job with that car. That's a car that they've worked very hard on. They talked about the involvement with Nissan. Nissan not really involved in road racing these days with a lot of factory involvement, but they're certainly helping out with this 240.
Norris and his teammate Craig Stanton have won twice this season, one at Sears Point and last week at Las Vegas.
And the unusual thing about this car is that it is a rear-wheel drive car, which is very uncommon in anything but the Grand Sports class. All of the Grand Sports cars are rear-wheel drive cars, the high horsepower cars, but in the sports, touring, and compact classes, many of the cars are front-wheel drive, and that's very uncommon in these lower classes.
You know, you talked earlier about these drivers. As we take a look at the leader in the compact class, number 75, Chris Wilson, on board. You talk about these drivers not having the chance to practice at night. We have not done a telecast here at night, which presents a major problem because we don't have the proper lighting to do television. And we're in a situation when this race ends under the darkness with what temporary lights they have out there. We really cannot make good television without lights.
It'll be very difficult to see these cars because, as we've said earlier, there are some temporary lights out here, but the place is not lit. It's not designed to, you know, you're not supposed to race here at night. But these guys are going to run in the dark a little bit. But we just won't be able to cover it very well.
Not very well. Not at all if we can't see it. So once again, our plan is to stay as long as we can and show you as much as we can before the sun kind of dips over the horizon, over the mountains here in Fountain, Colorado. Gary Lee alongside Jeremy Dale here in the broadcast booth. Calvin Fish and Greg Kramer patrolling pit lane. You take a look at a gaggle of cars. We've got traffic like this from the opening green flag. Your leader continues to be Eric Van Cleef. He took over for Goldborough. That car started on the pole. Talk about a glare.
Yeah, there are a couple areas here where these guys turn back into the sun. Now, this section has been shaded. And the sun is now setting.
Right there.
Yeah, a little bit there, and especially over in turn 4 after they come off the banking.
Well, right now, Van Cleef enjoying a 24-second margin over Doug Goad in the number 2 Pontiac. And then Tremblay, Sylvain has moved up to 3rd. Now, he was actually a lap behind, made the lap up, and now he is only 32 seconds back, so he is picking up almost 2 seconds a lap.
Yeah, he's really been on the march, but fuel is still an issue, I think, for these turbocharged cars.
3 wide down the braking zone.
Yeah, look at that sun right there. They're directly into that sunlight at the apex of turn 4.
They just went by John Norris in the 03 car. That is the class leader in touring and 16th overall. So now 15 cars apparently are on the lead lap. The sun is tough on the television camera there.
Yeah, those TV cameras don't love that sun.
And once again, the leader is still using every inch of the racetrack up on the curbing. We have seen this throughout the competition.
Yeah, and a lot of these cars don't like to get up on the curbing. It really unsettles them, but I guess this Toyota, you know, the way they've got it set up, the way it's handling it, seems quite happy at times up on the curb. Doesn't seem to compromise the traction or the grip with that car.
Now, once again, you're looking at the leader who enjoys a 20-some second advantage. You see him flick the lights there at a slower car as they come back into the sunlight through this very slow infield section on this 1.3-mile road course carved out of the 1-mile banked oval here at Pikes Peak. Once again, our position is in Fountain, Colorado, which is about halfway between Colorado Springs and Pueblo in the inaugural season of this brand new racing facility. And the first time that we've had a chance to see any road racing here.
Yeah, and it is a very unique road course. I would say this infield section resembles an autocross more than a road course. It's very, very tight. Not a lot of passing available in there. And then, of course, out on the banking here, where the 70 car in third place, very unusual for a road course as well, to be out on the banking like that.
They work off the second corner, off the 10-degree banking, about halfway down the backstretch, nearing turn 3. They turn to the left into a very long braking zone, into a very tight left-hander.
And you can see the sun right in his eyes there at the apex of turn 4. Fuel is an issue for this car. They really do use a lot of fuel. We talked earlier in the broadcast about how these guys had hoped for about 15 laps of full course yellow. That Mazda's up on the curb as well. They'd hoped for about 15 laps of full course yellow. I don't think they've gotten that many. I think they will need to stop again. It may be a short stop. It may be just a splash of fuel, but I think they will need to stop again.
Well, again, the team owner is now behind the wheel. That car has always been a fast qualifier, but he fell a lap back, was able to gain his lap back, and is now back in third position, but he's being shown some 55 seconds behind the leader. So almost a full lap behind the leader right now.
In reality, if we bridge back here,
he's about almost a lap back.
Yeah, the leader is only about 5 or 6 seconds behind him at this point.
Well, let's go down and talk to one of the more colorful drivers, and that'd be Taz Harvey. Taz is standing by with Greg Kramer.
Well, gentlemen, you were talking fuel, and there are fuel concerns of another sort for the number 86 Honda. Should be no problem to get to the end if you can make the pit stop, Taz. I understand there's some worries.
Well, we've got a lack of communication now with Christian Skavnes. He's kind of like a mere cosmonaut or something. He's out there just orbiting around. But he is leading the race, so this pit stop's going to be critical.
If he gets in, you get in the car, you get fuel, and you're good to go to the end, but he's close to running out, I understand.
Oh, yeah, we just hope he doesn't run out and strand himself in the course. I don't think he'll do that. Christian has tons of experience. He's a very good driver, so I'm not worried.
All right, I've seen some hand signals, though. Come on in. You guys are trying to get the word to him as soon as possible.
Well, we're going to wait until the last minute. We might luck out and get a yellow flag, Greg, and that would be key. If we do that, then we will have this race. It'll be a lot easier for me.
And Taz likes it easy, we know that.
Yeah, and of course, he has to get in the car to get the points because he wants that points championship, and we thought he was already in the car.
Yeah, he's got to do 45 minutes if he wants to get points, so they need to get this car in and get fuel in it and get Taz out on the racetrack.
And there is a look at your leader. Once again, Eric Van Cleve took over after qualifying the car yesterday. Chuck Goldsboro started the car in the race today, but right now your leader by some 25 seconds. Looking now at the final hour of competition here at Pikes Peak International Raceway in the Speedvision Cup for the stock sports cars. And look at the sun. That is what you're looking at, Jeremy Dale, as you come off the infield road course and tuck it back up on the banking.
Yeah, and these guys, you can see it's very close to disappearing behind the mountains there, so these guys will be very happy. This is probably at this point the worst area right there, but I think it's getting better minute by minute. Well, obviously it is. That's the concept of time. But
we want to mention, as we look at the 70 Mazda, Nick Ham is still in the race car. Sylvain Tremblay will go in on this stop. They have to stop for fuel, so they'll make a complete stop. And look at the 94 car on fire. The 94 car with a fire. And we're not sure if and that is Nowicki still in the race car, or David Allheim is in the car. But he pulls safely to a stop and bails out.
And he's ready to get out.
That looks like Nowicki. Yeah, you're always in a hurry to get out of the car when the cockpit is filling with smoke and the full course yellow. And well, this might change a few things. At least the guys that have to make a pit stop will have a full course yellow to make that last stop.
Yeah, this is, oh, I like the pace car driver up over the grass there. Very interesting. Yeah, this is the opportunity that the Toyota teams and the Mazda teams are looking for, to be able to stop under yellow.
Here is one hot Honda coming at you here. You can see the smoke, you can see the fire.
I think that thing probably popped the motor.
You could probably pick up a used race car pretty cheap right now.
He did a nice job to...
well, he can't even see where he's going.
Well, yeah, I mean, he did a nice job.
Did a great job of getting out of the racing groove there. I'm just glad that never happened to us on the one lap of America in 1984.
Yeah.
Because had he been driving, I'd have been asleep at the car, and he'd have forgotten to get me out.
Well, you know, he's worried about himself. I mean, that's looking after number one.
So that brings out the full course yellow, and that should liven some activity up in the pit lane. So we anticipate a stop by the number 70. No, that's Dave. That's not. That's Allheim that was in that car, and not Nowicki. And here is the 70 car. There is Nick Ham running now in third position.
Now what he'll want to do is he'll want to... Oh, here's the leader.
Oh, here's your leader. Calvin.
Yes, Eric Van Cleef brings the number 88 machine in. What perfect timing. They can go about just over an hour on a tank full, and that's what we're at right now. So perfect timing for the number 88 machine. They're going to just refuel it. It looks like they're going to not change the tires at this stage. They've just got the right side of the car jacked up in the air, so they get a little bit more fuel into the car. And looks like a routine pit stop. Eric Van Cleef has done a tremendous job, and obviously things were started off on the right note with Chuck Goldsborough behind the wheel, but the 88 machine is looking in good shape now with this yellow caution period.
Well, before the caution period, that 88 car was enjoying a 32-second advantage. Now, but we understand that Doug Goad in the number 2 car will also have to make a pit stop. He takes over the lead on this stop here by the 88 car. The Nick Ham, number 70, goes to second, but Greg, he is now in the pit lane.
Indeed, Nick Ham brings the number 70 Speed Source Mazda in, and Sylvain Tremblay already on board. Looks like they're going to put a little oil in it while they're refueling, doing right side tires. Just behind him, number 2, Doug Goad, brings that new aerodynamic Pontiac in, and they too have that car jacked up, trying to get as much fuel in as possible. That, as you said, is a huge concern. And Jeremy, earlier when you said these turbo cars, this is what they needed. When they saw that yellow came out, standing here in the number 70 pit, the crew just went ballistic with smiles. They are absolutely pumped now.
Well, of course, the big factor was when he got back on the lead lap. He needed this yellow because although he'd gotten around the leader at the time, that was the 88 car, he was still almost a lap back.
Now, the pace car just went by. You can see the pace car going by in the distance, so they may lose another lap here. They may have really hurt themselves by pitting too early before they caught the pace car. They may have really hurt themselves here.
So they go a lap down. So that would give the lead to, well, we'll see as we sort through this after the stop.
Yeah, we're going to have to wait to see how the timing and scoring sorts out here, but that could be a problem for them. They might have pitted too early. Often what you have to do is you have to run around until you catch the pace car and then dive in, especially on a racetrack with such a short lap as this one.
Well, that car has been in, the yellow number 2, and that's Doug Goad, and the now showing him in the lead. So that car did make the final pit stop. We're in the final hour of competition, so now we're showing Van Cleef's car back in the lead. So we'll sort it all out and come back with you for Pikes Peak.
The number 86 Honda down in the pits, and again a driver change. Taz Harvey on board, taking a little longer than they wanted. They finally get it topped off, and the car is back and underway. Harvey doing a nice job, beats the pace car out. That is absolutely key. The driver just got out of the car is absolutely pumped. He's just cheering loudly right now because they got the stop done and got out in front of the pace car, something the number 70 Mazda was not able to do. Nice stop.
Yeah, a little pit strategy going awry for the number 70 cars. You take a look at Doug Goad and the Craig Conway entry number 2, and they made a pit stop. And I think Calvin was down there. Calvin, you were down there when the 2 car made the pit stop.
Yes, I was, Gary, and it looked like they were going to stretch it a little bit further. They needed about 30 minutes of fuel if this thing went green, and obviously we're just under an hour left, but they decided to pit with the rest of the leaders, not take too much of a gamble here, so they're good to go the rest of the way. So it should really be a battle now. No one needs fuel, and they're just going to go for it to the checkered flag.
Well, you can see Chris has just gotten out of the car, and he was so pumped up, a chance to take a drink, and did I see Greg standing there to converse with him?
Gary, you indeed did. Chris, you got out of that car, and I've never seen you quite so pumped up. You guys must have taken it right to fumes and had the luck come your way.
It just started missing that lap, and if they didn't say yellow, that there was going to be a full course yellow, we would have had made a pit stop, and we probably would have lost the lap. But it came out right on time, and we just held it out there, and we're going to beat these BMWs this time. They're going down this time, man. They're going down.
The key seemed to be you got the stop done before the pace car came by, so you didn't lose the lap.
Yeah, we were right there. We had that timed. We were right on top of the money this time. If the car holds together, I don't think there should be any reason how they, if they're going to make up a lap on this track. Traffic out there is miserable.
All right, Chris, obviously nice job by you and the crew. Now it's up to Taz Harvey, guys.
You know, he really needs to learn how to show some emotion.
Yeah, he needs to loosen up a little bit, get excited about what's going on.
Well, you know, how often in racing have we said that drivers use the line, I'd rather be lucky than good. And luck plays such an important role in motorsports. There's an example of it right there.
Yeah, well, timing is everything. And I mean, for not only for this team, but for the leaders as well, for the Toyota, out in the front, the timing couldn't have been any better. I mean, they were going to have to make one very long stop under green, whereas the 2 car probably just needed a short splash.
Well, as we take a look at the rundown under this yellow, guess who now is back up in 3rd position? Mr. Priestley? Mr. Pilgrim?
Yeah, that is Andy Pilgrim on board, and we've shown the 70 car falling down to 4th place, a lap down.
Well, we saw that as it happened. He was in the pits too long. The pace car went by, brought the field along, and so now Tremblay is back in 4th position, but a lap off the pace. And so we could have a pretty good shootout here over the last 45, 50 minutes of this event.
Yeah, now what's going on here is these cars are all getting pointed around the pace car because the leader is behind these cars. So we're going to have to see how this plays out in terms of timing and scoring. So now what these cars do, the 46 car waited to get pointed by to pit. But they're going to have to make this a very, very quick pit stop if they're going to beat that pace car out.
So Pilgrim will stay on board.
Andy will stay on board.
Splash of fuel.
And he's certainly come in very quick.
Well, that was... Well, Calvin, what was that all about? Did he get any fuel?
Well, that was less than a splash, Gary. They never got the fuel nozzle in the tank there, so they obviously felt that they couldn't afford to spend the time in the pits, and they're back out again. They may come back in this time. I'll give you an update shortly.
Yeah, I think what they decided there was that they need to go another lap because they were definitely going to lose the lap they gained. So that's what I was saying. I was quite surprised that he was heading for the pits. I thought he would have done one more lap and then dive in, get the fuel, and the crew really made the right call there to keep him rolling and to send him right back out.
So he never gets back up on the track. Now here's a replay. Now watch a crew member takes a ride right here. Whoa! Oh, where is it? Hello. Well, he's got that heavy jack in his hand. He loses his balance, falls, but he's okay.
Yeah, that was obviously a last-minute decision there, but the right decision was made because if they're going to finish in the top 3, and they've got an excellent chance of doing that, they're going to have to get back out and get that lap back.
Full course yellow. The sun continues to set over the mountain range. It'll be an interesting finish after dark here at Pikes Peak. lights are on. The inaugural season, the first ever road racing weekend here at the brand new Pikes Peak International Raceway. Just over 30 minutes left in this 3-hour timed event. There is the green flag. We're going racing again after a marker cone was removed from the backstretch. And your first two are right together on the racetrack. Eric Van Cleef in the black 88, with the exception of pit stops. That dual turbocharged Supra has led and has been the dominant racehorse here this afternoon. But look at Doug Goad, who's won 17 times in this type of motorsports endeavor. He won just a week ago at Las Vegas, and there's the gap between first and second.
He's going to really have to pedal that thing if he's going to win today, because that Toyota has a significant power advantage at altitude here, and that may be as close as he's going to get. We'll see. I mean, if he can really pedal that car hard. And in the infield, it's not that significant, but once they get out on the banking where that Toyota can stretch its legs, it's really going to fly.
Well, let's visit with the co-driver of that yellow number 2 and see what his strategy might be. There's Craig, and he's with Calvin.
Craig, it seems as though it's going to be a tight one right down to the finish once again here, but do you have anything for that number 88?
I don't think so. I think we can just hope that he has a problem. With the atmosphere up here being real thin, the turbo cars are not affected by the atmosphere. The aspirated cars are. So we're down about 10%. So we've got 70 from behind and 88 in front. So we're in a turbo sandwich, I guess. We'll just have to wait and see.
Obviously, the car's running well. I mean, Doug won last week in Vegas with that car. It's a new car. It's a Pontiac Trans Am based on the Firebird, but slightly different bodywork, but it runs fine.
Yeah, the car's running real well. It's probably the best Firebird I've driven, and Doug's real happy with it. Doug's a great driver, so we'll just do the best we can and see what happens.
Doug will have one eye out front and one behind to look for that number 70 machine as well.
Well, they'll be eager to get on to Sebring in about 3 weeks, where they'll have a little more advantage with the naturally aspirated engines that they'll be running down there. And
yeah, well, that's about as close to sea level as
you're going to be.
It's Sebring.
So there's the gap. First back to second. The lights are on. The lights are on the race cars. We only have a few temporary lights in the infield. No lighting on the outside of this racetrack.
No,
of course, it's very light there on the backstretch.
The cameras are doing an excellent job here. It's actually much darker than it looks. These cameras are really doing the most with the light that they have to pull the light out, because it is darker. It's darker out there than it looks.
As they come off the backstretch through that tight infield section. And there you can see some of the temporary lights right here in the foreground and in the background, trying to illuminate as much of the infield section as they possibly can. Well, now looky here, number 61, John Heinersey on board. Now we talked about Joe Aquilani having 4 different steeds out here this afternoon or this evening. This is not one of them.
No, as a matter of fact, John is coming up on one of Joe's cars right in front of him. That very familiar paint scheme there. That's the 37 car, but he decided to move out of the team to get points. Let's go to Greg Kramer.
Well, what happened, they had a couple others, scenarios set up that they could follow up on if they had problems with all the team cars. The number 32 car was a lap back. When they decided to make the choice, the 61 car was on the lead lap, looked pretty good. He was entered in it. They put him in that car, and while they sat in the pits trying to get fuel in the car, guess what? Pace car won by, they went down a lap, so it didn't really help him much. He's out there scrambling for any kind of points he can get right now.
Looked pretty good on the paper.
Yeah,
just
well,
didn't work out in application.
Look at that 70 car. That 70 car, we thought it was going to go down a lap. It did not go down a lap. It got pointed by the pace car. So I think they really lucked out. That pit strategy was not good pit strategy, but they lucked out. They got pointed around the pace car, and right now running about 15 seconds behind the leader.
We have 4 cars on the lead lap. Van Cleef by 2.5 seconds over Goad. Tremblay then some 12.7 seconds back. And then it's the Presley and the 0 car. That's
David
1?
Murray. That's coming onto the banking. Patiently waiting for a break, and he's going to wait for a while here. The car's smoking a little bit there. That just came through our shot.
We're starting to say that Andy Pilgrim is back there in 4th position, teaming with Jason Priestley at 21 seconds behind the leader. So only 4 cars now on the lead lap in the final 30 minutes of this event. Oh, a problem with that right front as he is on the rim. And is that a cone under the car? As David Murray will be doing double duty this weekend. He'll be racing with the Exxon Supreme GT cars tomorrow. So Murray brings that car back to the attention of the pit crew. And Calvin, you're down there.
Yes, I am. He's obviously got a problem with the right front here, and the crew is going to go to work. Obviously losing precious time here. They're taking this opportunity to just top him up with gas. He was in just a short while ago, so I'm not sure why they're needing that. In fact, he's overfilling it right now as we speak. The crew goes to work. Obviously, when you got a flat tire, very difficult to get the jag underneath because the whole car is lower. Difficult to get the jag on, and the crew goes to work. Obviously, there's 5 lug nuts on these stock cars, and it takes a bit of time under green flag racing.
And you can see the extra set of lights there.
Yeah, now this car that started up near the front has just kind of gone backwards all day, and back right now in 39th overall, well down in the field. They've cut a few tires down, and they just had a very tough day.
Well, it's been a tough weekend. That is not the car that they had planned to run anyway, so it's been a tough weekend for this crew. And of course, Murray has been in the thick of the points chase. He's back there in 4th, tied with Stu Hainer, his teammate Bernie Cochran, along with Matt Turner, for 4th in the point standing. So it's just been a miserable weekend, and we'll take him right out of any chance of taking the championship this season. Along with Jeremy Dale, Calvin Fish, and Greg Creamer at the Festival of Road Racing here at Pikes Peak International Raceway, the inaugural season for a brand new racing facility here in Fountain, Colorado. And take a look at Eric Van Cleef, and once again, with the exception of the pit stops, this car has been the class of the field so far today.
It really has, and you know, they've had some good luck. They've had some good timing in terms of yellow flags and being able to stop at the right time. But the car's also been very well driven, and the pit strategy's been good. And you really can't fault anything they've done.
Once again, we were eavesdropping on some pit communications to the cars, and the track temperature now has dropped off about 30 degrees from the 115 it was earlier.
Yeah, and this is the car we were eavesdropping on. Andy Pilgrim, and his team manager was telling him, hey, you know, let's get going. And Andy came back on the radio and said, listen, you just told me to take care of the right front tire. Now you're telling me I need to go faster. What do you want me to do? And he said, well, you know, the track temp's down, so go ahead and push hard because they want to get second place. They're about 6 seconds back right now from the 70 car, the RX-7, the Sylvain Tremblay on board. So Andy is pushing that car very hard right now.
Once again, about 19 seconds between 1st and 2nd, but only 6 seconds now between 2nd and 3rd. We can tell you that Doug Goad had been up there in 2nd position, challenging for the lead. However, he cut down a tire along this front straightaway, made the pit stop, and dropped that number 2 car back to 4th position. He's some, 32 seconds back.
Look at a little glow there. You can see inside the front wheel. Nice little brake disc glow. And the darker it gets, the better. It'll actually be a nice way to follow the cars around. Just follow the glowing brake disc.
Have him turn the headlights off, and we'll just follow the brakes.
Drive by the glow of your brake discs. That little BMW is pretty quick. Been holding Andy up here for a lap or so. Andy ought to be able to get him going down the back straight. That's a sports class car. That's not a Grand Sport M3. That's a 328. Andy pulls alongside in this fairly bumpy braking zone. Look at those rotors. Oh, that's just beautiful.
So he makes the pass through that braking zone, that left-hander. And once again, your leader has won 9 times so far. Eric Van Cleef looking for his 10th victory.
Yeah,
He's also been the fast qualifier on 9 occasions for the 13th straight time, starting from the front row this afternoon.
But the Toyotas have had a tough time this year. They've led at about 5 different races, but they were only able to pull out a victory at Sebring on kind of a final 3 or 4 lap dash, and they've had trouble. Here's a car off in the infield.
As Harvey.
Yeah. So the Toyotas have had a tough time winning races. They've only won one race so far this year, but today has really gone their way.
Well, Taz Harvey, who just took that off-track excursion, kicked up the dust, now in second position in class. He had been leading with his teammate in sports division. Now he's back there in second position. Fitzgerald is now your leader in the sports class as we watch Taz Harvey continue to circle this 1.3-mile road course. In the final 30 minutes of this 3-hour timed event, started in bright sunshine with a cloudless sky. It's going to end with pitch darkness over the Pikes Peak area here in Colorado. Darkness now shrouds Pikes Peak International Raceway. There is the white, the green flag after a yellow to take a tailpipe off the backstretch. No challenge for the lead. The race will go to Eric Van Cleef. There could be a challenge back there for second position. Only 2 cars now between Tremblay and Andy Pilgrim.
The challenge is for us to find them. It's very, very difficult. I mean, to pick these cars out is very, very difficult.
Well, Eric Van Cleef on his way to his 10th career victory. This is the car that started from the pole position. He was the fast qualifier yesterday. Doug Goldsboro, his teammate, started the race. And there is a look at Andy Pilgrim in the white Mustang. And we're looking for the number 70 Tremblay Mazda. And there he is right there in second position. And I think he is safe in second position. But the second place finish will give him the points lead in the Grand Sports Division.
Yeah, you can hear Andy Pilgrim telling his crew chief, I got killed in traffic. The crew chief said, go after him. He said, I can't. I got killed in traffic. There's nothing I can do.
So after 3 hours, the victory goes to Eric Van Cleef. As the conversation continues in the pit lane to Andy Pilgrim, who now finishes his 103rd consecutive event. There's the Van Cleef crew celebrating down here in the pit lane.
And a very solid win for that team. They really did a perfect job today. They really did. And that car does not have a mark on it.
That second place finish for Nick Ham and Sylvain Tremblay will give them the points lead in the Grand Sports Division. And we can tell you that Anthony Lazzaro and Mike Fitzgerald victorious in the sports class. Peter Cunningham taking victory in the touring class. And Chris Wilson behind the wheel of car 75 taking the win in the compact class. So once again, after 3 hours, the victory going to the swiftest, actually, the guy that was the fastest in qualifying yesterday. And that's the sign you see as you drive down the interstate here at Pikes Peak International Raceway. The victory lap in the darkness for car number 88, Eric Van Cleef. We'll take this break and talk to the winners if we can find them down in the pit lane. In the darkness here at Pikes Peak, Gary Lee alongside Jeremy Dale as we'll have a chance to show you the top runners now in the Grand Sports Division. Once again, Van Cleef and Goldsboro taking the victory over Tremblay and Ham. There's the Priestley and Pilgrim car, and fourth was Goad and Conway. And Victory Lane assembling along the front straightaway, and Calvin Fish is down there.
Okay, well, I'm here with the overall victors and the winners in the Grand Sport Division. Great job today, guys. Eric, looked like the yellow flags may have put a little pressure on at the end, but you still were able to pull it out.
Yes, Calvin, you're right. There's a couple of yellow flags. I wasn't sure what they were for, but they definitely made us a little nervous. The 2-car came right up on us, and he gave us a lot of heat at Las Vegas when we didn't have much car left. Luckily, this time, we saved a lot of car for the end, and we had plenty for him.
These guys just were 8 minutes short at Vegas and lost the win there, but they came back strong here today for the victory.
Well, as you take a look at the victors in the Grand Sports Division and overall winners, we'll take a look at those who finished up high in the Sports Division. Of course, Anthony Lazzaro and Mike Fitzgerald taking the victory there. McMillan and Derek Hill in second. There's Taz Harvey, who takes over the points lead with a third-place finish. And Henderson and Lightline in the fourth position. Now let's go back to Victory Lane and Greg Creamer.
Well, Gary, I'm standing by with Mike Fitzgerald and Anthony Lazzaro. And, Mike, you guys qualified right up front, and you seem to be in the hunt all day long.
Yeah, we had a good car today. We had some good breaks early in the race, and our team manager, Thomas Blum, did a terrific job making the calls in the pits today. We ended up picking up the better part of a lap early on, and then unfortunately the caution flags bunched us up at the end, but Anthony basically just checked out on the field after that, so it was a great race.
Mike obviously gave you a great car, Anthony, and you just pedaled as quick as you could.
Yeah, I tell you what, with them starting the race, he always does a super job. He makes my job easy. But the guys at Franz Blom Racing, Thomas calls the strategy on this thing. Once again, you know, I mean, without their help, they're the ones that got us all the laps, and they're the ones that make my job real easy.
Obviously, you've done a lot of other driving this season, doing some open wheel in the Atlantic Series and running strong there. What's it like to make the switch back and forth from a sedan like this to an Atlantic car and back again?
It's basically going back into slow motion. Everything you do, actually, when I first get in the car, I overdrive it every time I get in each weekend. When I go back to the Atlantic car, it takes me about a half day to get used to that again. So it's fun doing both. There's a lot of good racing in the Speedvision Cup Series. You know, hopefully I can come back next year and do it again.
Mike, when he gets used to it, he's pretty good, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. I think he got fast race lap again.
Obviously, they put together a great drive. The team doing the job, the drivers doing the job.
Well, for Lazaro, his second win in this class, and also the second win for Mike Fitzgerald. And it's such a treat when the whole program comes together. You get to share a victory with your teammate. Well, of course, that is 2 of the 4 divisions that you saw here this afternoon and this evening. We'll take this break and come back and talk to our other winners. Coverage of the Speedvision Cup has been brought to you by Toyota Motorsports. Our minds are always racing. Well, we take a look now at the top finishers in the touring class here this evening. And once again, Peter Cunningham drove the anchor leg for the victory. There's the Nonamaker Pate entry in second position, Norris Stanton in third, and Starita and Shader back there in fourth position. Let's go back to victory lane. Calvin?
And the winners in the touring class were Jason Potter and Petey Cunningham. And Jason, a great start to the event, and you turned the car over, and Petey brought it home for you.
Yeah, it was a fun race. It was tough. There's a lot of rubber out on the track, and if you go offline, you can get in trouble real easily. But I brought it in with a good car and turned it over to Petey, and he brought it home, man. He had some trouble with the Mazdas right at the end, but I think he showed him who was who.
He certainly did show him who was boss out there. Petey, 2 wins today. You also won in the World Challenge. It has to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's I like this place now. You always say that when you win, but this Honda Accord was well matched in the class, and we had a good battle with the Mazdas. I had a good battle with Bill Pate. Some of his teammates weren't quite so nice, but it was a great day for Redline Oil, for Honda, for Acura, for everybody. So everybody's happy.
Great job, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, our 4th and final division, of course, the touring class, and Phillips and Wilson taking the victory there. That's the compact class. Let's correct that. And as you take a look at the rest of the top 4 in that division, let's go back to victory lane and Greg Creamer.
Well, Gary, interestingly, last week at Las Vegas, this team was in the hunt for the win up to the 1 hour remaining mark. Then they had a host of problems and dropped out. It's got to be sweet revenge in a way. John Phillips, you started the anchor leg, or the first leg in the Nissan 200SX. Obviously, things went pretty well this weekend.
Oh, we ran smooth and steady. That was the game plan. Finish the race. You got to be there at the end to win, and that was our whole game plan.
Obviously, a little conservation, and you turned it over to Chris Wilson with a great car. Chris, any problems?
Yeah, John conserved the car well, so I had no problems at all, except for I was getting a little worried about the Mazda Miata. It was running a little bit quicker than we were, but we outlasted them in the end. The Nissan ran cool, and I guess they had a heating problem, so that's what kept us out in the lead. And just like to thank all the crew, David Daughtery, even though he's not here, he left us alone. Redline Oil, Speedvision, Toyo Tires, and especially Nissan. So, thanks.
Gentlemen, you did an absolutely great job. Gary?
Well, what a great racing weekend this has been. Once again, the inaugural season for a beautiful racing complex here, as we say, between Colorado Springs and Pueblo. First time, though, we have seen road racing action on this facility.
Yeah, and I think the fans liked it. As you said, you know, kind of a stadium concept where you can see everything. And that's great. You can see every bit of the action here, and there certainly was no shortage of action tonight.
Well, of course, a big racing weekend, a combination weekend with the professional sports car and the SCCA. One of the big stories earlier today was Tommy Kendall failing to win his 12th in a row, finished second to Mike Borkowski.
Yeah. Well, there's a nice shot of our winner coming over the finish line there to finish tonight's race under darkness. Great job by this Toyota team. Led by Eric Van Cleef. Nice to see them bring the car into victory circle.
Well, the fans seem to enjoy starting in the bright sunshine and ending well after dark here at Pikes Peak International. So